welcome to a new episode of Hello World. Today we're going to speak about high impact tools for teams. So we're going to speak about teamwork. And according to me, there are a few things in work life, at least, that makes more fun than working in a team together to reach a target and a result. But it can also be really frustrating when communication is not working, when we don't really have the same, sharing the same view on responsibility, when we're not really reaching that progress that we're looking for. So to me, teamwork is like heaven and hell in that sense. But we are meeting an expert in teamwork today. We're meeting Stefano. He's a professor in project management. He's a consultant and the author of the very new release book on high impact tools for teams that he has written together with Alexander Osterwalder at the Stratiteq team. Stefano has worked many years trying to find simple yet powerful tools to handle the challenges of teamwork. So we really look forward to learning more. And welcome to the show, Stefano.
Thank you for having me, and hello to all of our viewers.
Thanks.
Thank you. Stefano, you just released your new book that you've written with Alexander Osterwalder at Stratiteq. What do you think, or what do you like the most about working with teams, and what do you think are the most common challenges that makes a team fail?
Yeah, that is a great question. And before I jump immediately into that, let me share that, Kim, I'm with you. My favorite two words about teams, when I have to describe them just in two words, it's fantastic and exhausting. So we are on the same page. However, there is no escape. We have to work together because only teams can solve the complex problems that we face today. So no single individual can solve issues like the global warming or the current COVID crisis, or even invent a new product. I mean, the facets of innovation are so multiple and require so many skills that we better boost our ability to work together to make that collective journey as comfortable as possible for everyone, while delivering what we're supposed to do in schedule, within budget, and so on, the quality that is required. Yeah. Now, to come back to your question, Magnus, it's really the two challenges I've experienced for many years and that are very, I think, described in details in the book. There are two main challenges, and there is one third now coming with the pandemic because we have to work remotely. So the first challenge is this notion that, and that might sound very basic, however, it's essential, is that if we believe we understand each other, but it's not the case, that sparkles a big domino effect that has serious consequences on project execution. So misalignment, which is the presence of too many perception gaps within the team, is for me one big challenge teams face. Another challenge, which is very important, another very important requirement, and there have been important studies to illustrate that, is trust. We need sufficient trust to have the willingness to do our best for the other person and contribute to the best of our own capabilities. And that requires a cousin of trust that has been described by Amy Edmondson, the professor of psychology at Harvard Business School, which is called psychological safety. This very notion that the team is a safe place for me to take risks, which is very crucial for an innovation team. Not a surprise that Google make that their number one HR principle.
Yeah.
After running an internal, very important internal study to analyze what were the characteristics of the perfect team, to come to the conclusion that psychological safety is what was reuniting all the best performing teams. Now, so let me recap: mutual understanding about the activities, what we're supposed to do, so fight perception gaps, and psychological safety are the two key requirements I feel are neglected quite often, and this is it's a kind of natural blind spot we have, because we tend to presuppose that the other people presuppose the same things we presuppose.
Yeah.
It's not the case, and that's the whole idea behind all these visual tools we're having. Put it out there on a canvas, on a digital whiteboard, so that we know at least if we're presupposing the same things or not, and we can repair the perception gaps. Now, there is one third component now that, I mean, we knew that before. I mean, working remotely is not new for innovation companies, but it is new for a majority of people mainly working in corporate environments. So what is changing now during this pandemic is that we're having huge masses of people just working the way we used to work in the past. I mean, us.
Yeah.
But it's volume of new people coming in, and there are two challenges. One, it's the skills. Make sure that there is an upgrade in skills so that everyone masters the tools to work efficiently from home. And then another one is to use to multiply communication channels and platforms. If you don't use them efficiently, adds more confusion to the team than anything else, because remotely it's even more difficult. So there is this notion of smart channel selection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The task we're supposed to do.
Yeah. So I had the pleasure of actually listening to you and meeting you already in 2017, I think it was, when I joined the boot camp at Stratiteq in Switzerland at that time. And I think at that time, actually, the team alignment map was quite new. So you were presenting the canvas, and we actually did an excellent exercise, which I was telling Magnus about before. And to me, that's one of the exercises that really stuck with me, because it was so simple yet so obvious. We had these different cards with symbols, and we were divided in teams. We had a frame in between us, and the one person had to explain the order of the images on the icons on the cards to the other one, who then should put them in the right order. And I think the first time we did it, it took about 1.5, 2 minutes to achieve it. And the fifth time, it took 10 or 15 seconds. And that really put it to the spot that you're thinking that everybody's viewing it the same thing. So the yoga posture, which it was one way of describing one card, was definitely not what the other one was thinking about when they were viewing it, because it was a football player or whatever it could be. So I think that is that's an exercise that's really stuck with me from that time. But the team alignment map or canvas is extremely simplistic and extremely powerful at the same time. Could you just briefly touch upon what it actually means and how it's built up, so to say?
Yep. Maybe just before I jump into the team alignment map, to come back to that exercise. So the idea is not to convince you that team alignment, or convince anybody by speaking that alignment has an impact on team performance. That experiment, I transform it from an academic experiment into a game, so that you can measure the impact of it. And for our listeners, expect an increase in performance when we're aligned, of 400% on average, and median also, they're very close.
Yeah.
But some teams, they go up to 1,200%. At what cost? Nothing. Talking about the right thing at the right moment.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you could measure that.
Yeah.
Trainings. Now, the team alignment map is exactly an extension of that game into a project. The thing is, to be effective collectively, we need to build up what psycholinguists call common ground, or mutual knowledge, shared knowledge, evidence that we are on the same page. Now, when we engage in a project, in an innovation project or any type of project, there are, and it took me actually, it's correct, the tool looks simplistic, but it took actually almost 10 years to get to that simplicity. And we analyzed, it's well documented out there, but almost 200 variables to come back to the essence of the minimal requirements on which we must really understand each other. And we found out that there are 4. One is what we intend to achieve together. So this could be activities, deliverables, outcomes, anything that we want to achieve together in the future. So we must be very clear on that. So the poster, whether it's on the digital whiteboard or in the same room, creates a space to discuss that first. Then, of course, if you could do all these things alone, you would do them. Why do we team up? Because we need each other. Okay, so then what are you doing for me? What am I doing for you? So what is described mostly as roles or roles and responsibilities and so on. We call them joint commitments because we like this idea of shaking hands.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not super cool in COVID times, but I hope we can go back. Now, once we have discussed the objectives and we have discussed our roles and we have reached evidence that we understand each other, then we move on to the next column because every human activity is using resources. So you might want to discuss not resource in general, but what do you need to do your part? What do I need to do my part? What do we need to do our part? And what do we have and what is missing?
Yeah.
And that conversation takes place during this quick alignment session that is concluded with a fourth column, which is to consider external events that might prevent us from succeeding, namely risks. So we take some time to discuss our fears, side effects, unintended consequences. And once you fill in the poster from left to right, we have created a big picture of our collaboration. And it's not finished yet. To conclude an alignment session, there is the so-called backward pass. We have to go in the other direction again because risks should be, as much as possible, mitigated together. Basically, the team alignment map is a co-planning tool. And the same with the missing resources. If we're missing resources, well, if you need 15 man days and you don't have them, well, then the entire project is compromised.
Yeah.
So we conclude the team alignment session by negotiating the post-it notes or the items presented on the board that cause problem by transforming the problems into new objectives with new commitments.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, simplistic but powerful. So there are plenty of other tools in your book as well. And instead of just speaking about the different tools, I would like to sort of play a dilemma for you and then just hear how you would address it or how would you recommend that the project manager takes it on. And we are a software development company, so we basically work in projects and with software development, and often in an agile methodology, of course. So a common situation could be a team that consists both of our people, but it could also be subcontractors, and normally the customer is, of course, involved in some way as well. We might work on different backlogs or different parts of the backlog, but we obviously have some sort of common goal. But then again, we are a mixed team which are coming from different areas, so we don't really have a shared, maybe a culture or shared basis in terms of what we value. We might have different views on what responsibilities we have and what's proactivity, for example. It's not uncommon that the handover from one team to another is everything but smooth. The project manager might, after a while, face that the group is sort of falling apart. There are some hidden agendas, or they have their own agendas, which they want to push. That might be quite strong individuals. And suddenly there is a feeling of what you were saying before, that you need the trust. The trust is not really there. So people are feeling like, I don't really like working in this team anymore. The environment isn't good. It's not a nice feeling. There are conflicts all under the surface, basically. They're not really handled as well. So it's not the best situation to succeed, obviously. In that case, what would you recommend that the project manager, what should he or she do to address the challenges?
I can tell you what I would do if I was in charge of that team and that project. Maybe that will make echo with other project managers. So the good news is that we can reboot a team at any moment in time. So for me, what you're describing as a situation is that a project that has started with insufficient alignment in the beginning. So that causes a double problem. First, that we have to deliver, but the perception gap, they multiply execution problems because when we try to make our parts fit together, they don't fit. And after a while, it starts damaging the relationship. So you have this double layer that is happening. So what I would do, first of all, I consider myself a project manager as well. In the digital area, any of the tools presented in high impact tools for teams are plugins. They work with Scrum, with the PMI, with LESS, with SAFe, with anything.
Yeah.
Okay? And they're plugins that you use to give alignment a boost that when you think it's necessary. In your case, I would use the team alignment map and the team contract. Very quickly. Let me maybe in 1 minute describe the situation. I would put the key stakeholders together, whatever their teams, no matter if they're internal or external, that doesn't matter at all. Everyone is contributing to the team that is building the product or the service. So no boundaries here. Everyone together. Sometimes you have 20, 30, 50 people in the room. Do it, because the cost of not doing it is exponential as the project is moving on. So put everyone together, divide them into sub-teams, and use the team alignment map by topic to ensure that the multiple stakeholders are clear about each one and each other contribution.
Yeah.
So that is good for the activities. In parallel, I would ask these teams to establish a team contract. A team contract is another poster. It's not a legal contract. It's a moral contract between us. There's no legal obligation. But it's this idea of answering these two questions together. What are the rules that we want to abide by as a team? And me as an individual, do I prefer to work in a certain way?
Yeah.
And let's put that on the poster as well and negotiate that. And when we reach agreement, that is excellent for trust.
Yeah.
Because when the rules of the game, and I love the term game, because in the end, we like to be playful and have all that energy and that harmony come up. So when this is transparent, it changes the behaviors. And it increases the psychological safety. So I would reboot the teams with a team alignment map and a team contract. Now, once this is done, each sub-team can adapt their backlog based on what we've been discussing. Yeah. Okay? So the idea is that it's no replacement for the backlog or Scrum or Kanban. No, it's just like to check, validate that we're on the same page on two things: the work, team alignment map, and the behaviors and how we're going to work together, team contract. Yeah.
You make it sound very easy.
But it is. The thing is, I developed these tools together with wonderful people in a long journey. This took like 15 years to develop. We developed these tools for ourselves as PM, delivering projects, because we were thinking that we had, actually here is the high level story. We have great methodologies to deliver product and services. And the product and services are delivered also by people. So we realized that when we failed 9 times out of 10, it was not because of the methodologies of product and services, it was because of, or the technology, it was because of perception gaps and lack of trust or silence in the room and information not flowing. So we developed these own teams, these own tools for us, and then we started sharing them. And then that's when we understood that actually you have to take care of both when you enter into an innovation journey in delivering a product or a project. You have to take care of what the product or the service, but you have to take care of the team itself, because humans, they have requirements. And these have been neglected, I believe, for quite some time, because we have all engineering backgrounds. And we thought it would be great to reunite these two things into a simple toolkit any team member can use with any method.
Yeah. I'm also thinking that that sometimes we don't really take the time. We're running so fast that we're not really stopping and realizing what is the most important. which is really communication in terms of making things happen.
You know what communication means in Latin?
No?
To put in common.
Yeah.
And coordination?
Yeah.
That means to work, the harmonious functioning of part.
Yeah.
Now, humans, they coordinate with communication. So when we rush after our deadlines and the budget that is burning and so on, we're focusing very often on the product or the service. And we might create even more problems if we do not care about the basics of teamwork.
Yeah.
You know, because we increase actually these perception gaps can make the situation even worse. So it's good to stop a little bit to go faster afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that's a common mistake.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
It's like the old agile saying, people over process.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And I would say mutual understanding and relationship requirements first.
Yeah.
And when this is in place, really, you know, by definition, an innovation journey is a journey into the unknown.
Yeah.
So basically, no one is competent.
Yeah.
So we have to learn together.
Yeah. And I'm thinking especially
in place.
Yeah, especially with innovation, there's such a high degree of uncertainty anyway.
Absolutely.
So if you're not trusting or not in an environment where we've sort of agreed on the rules, then it's even more difficult.
Yeah.
Exactly. And one of the common mistakes, at least in my experience, is that we working together itself takes work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And here I'm quoting a psycholinguist called Herbert Clark, which invest in this alignment moment to benefit from the power of the group later on.
Exactly.
Well, our tendency, at least my tendency in front of a short deadline, is not to invest that time into working together itself takes work, but I'm doing it myself.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
When I enter into trouble.
I can see myself in that.
I understand. We've been working remotely now. You mentioned that earlier as one of the 3 challenges. And you mentioned technique and the choice of channels on how to communicate. As a product manager or a team leader, how would you say that they should think and act in this pandemic situation?
That's a great question that we could spend 1 hour on that. However, I'd like to focus on just one element. One big mistake I see from a perception gap perspective. Again, the enemy of smooth coordination and smooth project execution is perception gaps. One big mistake I see now that is done online, even by experienced people in innovation, is to use meetings for project updates and launch projects through Slack channels and emails and other messaging applications. No, that's wrong. It's just the other way around. You can Google media richness theory. Not all media have the same impact on creating alignment. So the most important moment when we need alignment is the beginning of a project, or when there is radical new information coming in. In this moment, whenever there is something new, when we start something new, when someone new joins the team, use face-to-face when it's possible, or online, use video conferencing together with a digital whiteboard to construct. Why? Because synchronous communication opens the channel as a great bandwidth for creating mutual understanding.
Yeah.
Okay, that presupposes also that meetings are prepared.
Yeah.
Now, and then use asynchronous communication channels for updates, just small increments, sharing like minor information, but not the other way around. If you do the other way around, you're using small channels when actually we need high bandwidth.
Yeah.
That turns systematically into troubled projects.
Yeah.
To launch new things with new people using asynchronous channels. So that is what I call smart channel selection.
Yeah.
Start anything new face-to-face with video conferencing, and then update using other channels, but not the other way around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you get the same perception and don't make assumptions of what the project is about.
That's the idea. The problem, the execution problems in projects come from wrong predictions about what the others are doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're doing your part, Kim is doing her part, and you need both parts to make the project fit. If you're on the same page, it's going to work. Because you know what Kim is doing and Kim knows what Magnus is doing.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, if you're not on the same page, you will presuppose what each other is doing.
Yeah,
and that
exactly.
might be wrong. Okay? So please go face to face, because that's when you have a chance to ask questions and so on and discuss to make sure we are aligned.
Yeah. Perfect.
Perfect.
So thank you so much for taking the time, Stefano, and explaining to us once again, at least in my case, how to use these tools. And great to get that input on the remote part as well, because that's was obviously not the case in 2017.
Yes.
So thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Yes.
Yet so many learnings. It's the best with Hello World. I think it's it's so simple, but yet so difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, no one takes the time. We have many tools, and I've come across many tools during my years. And often you start, as he said, start a new project face-to-face or plan a big meeting and do all these things to get the alignment going from the very start. Often it starts the other way around. Let's get started. The customer wants to have the product.
But also taking the time to stop when you're seeing that you're about to go sideways. So I think that's one of the most important things to remember, the exponential aspects of if you're not taking the time to make sure that you're aligned again, that will actually just increase both
and be
cost
brave
and time.
and bold to actually execute it and do it.
Yeah,
that's the sometimes the biggest challenge.
Yeah. So thank you very much for joining us today, and make sure to follow us on LinkedIn so you don't miss any future episodes of Hello World. Thank you and bye-bye.
Bye.